Hello YouTube, and welcome to yet another full stack web app tutorial. In this episode we will be now building our to-dos collection that we'll be able to post to-do items and delete to-do items and list them for the users of our to-do app. So without further ado, we will be creating our to-dos collection in the server, start building that out. I'll see how the time's going. We might be able to build the client bit as well, which will then hook in and connect to those to-do collection requests. So if we go back to our server and the index.ts, where in here, of course, we initialize our server, we initialize that REST API. In there, we initialize the users collection. So what we're doing is going to create a similar function to init users collection. And we might as well just add a new function called init to-dos collection. So if we go function init to-dos collection, and well, say that's part of a DB Loki, and so that's going to be how we're going to create and define our to-dos. The first thing we need to do though, before we can define that collection, is then type what a to-do is, just like we did for the user. So if we go back to our types package that we created in the last episode and go into index.ts there, I can split this to the right as well, so we can always have both of them open there so we can see. All I'm going to do, and I might as well put it at the top level here, is going to do export an interface. Oh, I've got both open here. Let's close that one there so we can see our server. Going to export an interface, and we're going to call it to do. What to do. And in it, it's going to have an ID of string, and we're going to have some text. So that's going to be the actual to do item, and we'll say it's going to be created by. And that's going to be a string. It's going to be actually created by ID, so we get the user ID that created it, and we'll have a created date, so when it was actually created, and that's also going to be a string. Okay, it's going to be a date string, and we might be able to, like you say, change, or we could keep it as a date object. We'll see how we go. You might change that a bit later on, but at the moment we'll just keep it as a string, because when it gets saved to a database, it becomes a string object there. So yeah, we've got our to-do item. So then we kind of follow the similar syntax as we did with the users collections just up here. We'll do let to-dos collection equals db.get collection of type to do, and this should just automatically highlight it and come up in our syntax because we've got the package linked to our server, and we're going to call that one to do's, so it's going to get that collection. If and previously there we said if the collections is null, then we will create the users collection and add a user. For the to do, we'll just create a blank to do collection. So we could go to do's collection equals null, then we will do to do's collection will equal db.add collection again of type to do. It's going to put to do's, and we're going to have our indices. The unique ones are going to be just the ID, so it's going to have a unique ID. We also will clone, just as we did before, in our users collection. There we go. So we're not going to create or insert any to-do items. We'll do that through the web app in the fullness of time. We just need to now return the actual to-dos collection. There we go. And then we want to bring that in. So at the top in our init REST API, we can then do const to-dos collection equal init to-dos collection, pass it the DB, the database. Okay, and then we want to append it to our locals, so it's available to our REST API throughout all our endpoints. just like we've got a users collection here, we can actually update the locals. And we're going to do a couple of slight changes here. Actually, we're going to now, just for convenience and for neatness really, we're going to have collections interface here, and then actually this is going to be an object, an array, key value pair of users and to-dos. I'm going to have to change some of the user routers. But by doing this in our apply locals, we're going to have locals.users, locals.collections.users, locals.collection.todos. So it's just a nice way of just keeping it like they're all our collections, and then they give a nice hierarchy of them. So we just say they have type to do there. Okay, so back in here, we just now need to update this one to collections. Whoops. And the one thing we don't have here, and I need to try and fix it at one point, is the type hinting for apply locals. Like I could imagine passing a type to apply locals to say this is the structure of what locals should be. But for now, we'll just remember from writing out here. This is going to be users collection, and then we're going to have to do's, and that's going to be our to do's collection. And now we've got another database. You can imagine another database table here, or set of objects for us, available to us throughout our REST API. So before I go in and create our router for the to-dos, we will just create, just double check our users and update the errors that are going to appear here because we've changed our context, locals context. So here, rather than user collections, now it's going to be collections.user. Same goes for here. And again. And I believe, oh, there's one more there. Users. And yep, so I'm just checking on the little mini tab there. There seems to be any more errors there. So I think we've captured all of those. We can check with our tests later as well. So now we need to create, just like we have with a router for the user, we want to create a route for the a route for the to-dos. So just change the setting on my computer there. I just create that one, so we're going to call this to-do.ts. And let's have the user one on the right side because we might be borrowing a few of those just for us to remember. So right down at the bottom of this script here, of course, we created a new router. So let's do that. That is the thing that we're going to export from this file. We're going to call this one the to-dos router. To-do router, maybe. There we are. And it's of type router, and it's a HyperExpress one there. So if I just tab that, it'll auto-complete for us. And we're just going to call it a new router. And now we want to create some, commands or endpoints to query from the front end. So the first one maybe is to actually post a new to-do item. So we want to do a const post. So we'll call it the post one. And so we just have we have login register. Let's just take one of these. Here we go. So it's going to be of type user root handler because it's going to be an async request response. There we go. And we're going to have some args. We're going to have the ctx. We're going to have the send command. All from our await of the type args contact send that we've used before in our user root, and we need to type the arguments that we're going to do. So we're going to create the ones that we need to validate against. So we're going to use that type box once again. So I'm just going to scroll up here. So it's going to be very similar to our registering here. So we need to apply something like this, a register args. We need to create that for our to-dos item. So if I go back to our index.ts for types, we've got our interface to-dos, and now we want to do something very similar here to the register args. So if I just copy this to the top and then we'll edit it up here. So let's say this is post to do args. What we need is, all we actually need is just the text, because we'll get the user from the locals, the context. So whoever actually makes the post request will get that user. The date we'll actually create on the server side end, and the creator bar, yep, we'll get the ID from the user. So that's it. It's just simply we'll expect some text in an object, and we just then export our post to do args, and now we can import that up here. So we expect the post to do args in our request. And then just like the register, we're going to then, first thing we need is to just check if the user's there. So first of all, we want to get the loc. Let's just say if we should have the locals.user already, so we should be able to just create a new to-do item. So let's call it to-do. It's going to be a structured to-do. We're going to give it an ID. We're going to use the UUID. Where is it? Random UUID. That's the command. Now from crypto, we're going to get the text. So from the args.text. So that's been posted to us. We're going to then go created by ID, and we're going to use the ctx context.user.id. So we'll get them. It also warns us that they might not be there. So let's just catch that up here. If not a user, then we'll just return here. I'll just copy that across. Return 400 and say actually, no user exists. But we will put a check in there because we'll say the user has to be logged in, so they shouldn't ever get to that stage. I'm just doing this to then avoid having to have the question mark there. So we'll say that users exists, and then we'll create a date. New date. So it's going to be today. When it was created, and actually that's going to error because we called it as a date string. So actually let's match up as a date in here then. So we're just going to update that type to date, and then that'll nicely clean up that. So we've got our response. Now we've got that, we need to now post that and actually create the object in our database. So just like we've created a user in our previous one, when now just now we've created the to-do, let's try, just in case there's something odd happens when we try and add it to our database. Go to to-do, insert to-do. So that'll add it to our to-dos item, and then return 200. Error null, and data success. So we're just going to report back, yep, we were successful in adding that to the database. And then, as always, actually I'll just copy and paste it from here. We'll just catch any errors and report those back, and that might be like an error just connecting to that collections. And that's all we've got there. That's it. So we check for the post to do args. We just check the users there, create the to do space, and then try and insert it into our database. If all is good, we'll return 200. If there's an issue, we'll return 500. And then we just need to then, just as we did with our user here, we just want to do router dot post. It's going to be a post request on the just the endpoint itself, just on the /, because we're going to have a API / to do. So if you just put post to do, then this will get fired. Actually, we might not even need that /. We can check within our tests in a moment. We need to authorize our user, so we want to double check before they even get to that endpoint that they are a user. And then of course, if they are, then we'll also validate the arguments that they've sent us and whether they are to do post to do args. And then if all is good, we'll reach our post function. It's in this file. So that's us posting a message, and then we want to maybe do a get. So get our messages, get our to-dos. So this will get all of them as well. So it's going to be a list of to-dos for that user. So again, the get is going to be of type user root handler, async request, response. There we go. And what we will ask here is, I'll just copy and paste this bit. Of course, we'll type out arguments. We're not going to ask anything from the user because all we'll need is their ID to bring across their own to-dos. So we need the context. There won't be any arguments, and we will then first check that the user exists. If not, we'll send an error. Again, we'll authorize the user for this endpoint. So that's checked for that, and then we need to then get all of the to-dos for that person. So we'll do to-dos, and we will go ctx.collections.todos.find. So we're going to find all that adhere to this criteria that we're just going to place in here. And we're going to go on the created by ID, and we're going to say, and all of these commands are in the Loki.js documentation. Works a bit like MongoDB. So we're just here, we're going to say on the created by ID, it contains that, oh no, it's equal to, actually, so because it's going to equal to the ctx.user.id. Okay, so we'll get any to-dos for that user. So this should be then a list. It should come up here. Yeah, a list of to-dos. And we will then simply return that list. Return 200. Error equals null. And data is going to be the to-dos themselves. So that's a very simple GET request there. You can imagine in the fullness of time that you could then get and have lots of different arguments to query the most recent ones, or certain filters that you might want to apply. But at the moment, you know, for this demo, we're just doing a full list of all the to-dos for that user. So we just need to then add this to the endpoint. So we just add that one, and we are going to then say and just authorize the user. And if they are authorized, then they'll get their scopes. Double to authorized user, and yep, then we need to do the get. So there we go. So we've got a function to post, and we've got a function to get, and then we want probably a function then to delete a to-do from the list. Now, in many, like, let's say modern apps, actually, you'll probably never delete data. You'll probably maybe have an archive function, or when a user clicks delete, it just hides it from them. So you might have a tag. But for this case, we will just do a an actual delete and actually remove it from the database. So to do that, we will again take our context arg send, and we will get the parameter from the actual endpoint. So this will be going to be / and actually like an ID that we need to access. So just bear with me. I'll just look at my supporting code here to remember how we're going to do this. So what we want to use here, first of all, we're going to check if the user's there. Again, and if not, return an error. And we're going to do if. So we're going to then try and find this ID that's in the header in the URL. So we're going to go call that, let's say, the to-do ID, and it's going to be in the request dot path parameters. And it's going to type ID. And first thing we go, if it doesn't exist, then we're just going to return an error. So we're going to send 400. Error. No to do ID and data equals no. If there is, we're going to then check for that to do. So we go to do ctx.collections dot to do collections to do's dot by. So we're going to get it by the ID. So we get the single item, and we're going to do to do ID. And then if there is no to do, just in case they send us the wrong erroneous ID, we can then just we could do no to do with that ID, so we'll just return an error for that. But if we're okay, we've got a to-do item. We want to do one last check, and that's to see if that is the user. The user is the user of that to-do, or the user is an admin. So we want to do. Let's check for if the ctx.user .id equals do that's it dot created by ID, or ctx.user scopes.includes user scopes.admin. So you might have an admin overriding and wanting to delete it on request of a user. Let's close those for the moment. Then we can return this to the return that the user can actually perform that action. Else we can then just actually we can just put a return here as a then maybe, because if they haven't got past that point, then we can send here just a point you are not authorized to do the deletion. So we're saying in this thing, if they are the user of that ID, or they are an admin, we can then get onto like say deleting that item. So if we use collections to do dot delete, I think maybe just gonna have to double check this one, because I haven't deleted any people for a while, because we normally just hide them. Bear with me here. Yeah, okay, so it's actually not remove. There we go, that's the one, not delete. So remove, and we're going to pass it the to do, so that actually. And again here, we will, let's take this try and catch here just in case, and we'll wrap that one in there in a minute. So rather than the insert, we will put the to do. So we'll go and find that to do and remove it from the list and return successful, or catch, and we'll then do an error. So those are, like you say, the kind of three fundamental functions. You're either going to create one, you're going to get a list of them, or you're going to remove them. So we just need to do now a delete. We're going to and we're going to on this, rather than just a forward slash, let's just keep those in there as well. We're going to have there with a path parameter of ID. So with the colon there with ID, it's going to actually then create the path parameter. It's going to take that value there. So we're going to have API slash to do slash the unique ID for that to do, and that's going to get imported here up here through path parameters, and then we're going to use it to find that to do item. And of course we're going to authorize anyone. Let's just copy this one and authorize anyone who is a user to do that. They're allowed to do so, and we then just attach the function, which is then delete. We probably can't use delete because it is a commonly used word, so let's call it remove. That's probably, and then we can call it there. There we go. What have we got here? User root handler. That's okay. Oh, user router. Sorry, that's just a misspelling. My bad. There we go. So we've got a remove, and then we've added to the remove. So that's the basics of any kind of endpoint to collection. You want to get, create, or remove. So now we've created that, we can then attach it to our REST API. To do that, we go back to the index.ts. We go to the app.use section here. We've got where the API is, we've got where the user is. We can then just now add another line here. We're going to call this to do, and we can call that the to do router. There we go. Just checking how we're doing for time. So yeah, that's good for about half an hour. I think that's nice time to break. So what we've now done is just attach that to do router to the server. It's available for us now, so we can then now start to think about attaching the client to that, and then we'll be able to make it available in our web app. We also need to do some tests on it as well. So I think in the next episode we will do the tests. Maybe we attach it to the client, see how we're getting on. If so, then we can then get into the web app. If not, maybe that'll be the last stage, will be, and then one last episode where we attach that to the web app. So you'll go to your home screen, you'll see a list of your to-dos. You'll have a form on that home screen to post to-dos, and then when the list of to-dos come up, they'll each have potentially a delete button there, which when you click that, it'll then fire off a request to the server to delete the item. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.